The roaring hymn of the Warpriest is only sung during the sacred rites of battle. Hello everyone, and welcome back down here to The Gamer's Den, with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire, bringing you another Pathfinder build guide, taking a look at yet another hybrid class. And this time around, we're looking at the Warpriest, and we are building the immovable fanatic with this class. But before we get into that, if you're new here or haven't done so already, go on down there and hit the subscribe button and become a regular member here at The Gamer's Den. Be notified the next time we upload more great content here to the channel. But now, with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and continue. The Warpriest is that fiery center, that hymn-roaring fighter at the center of combat, carving a makeshift pulpit from the bodies of their foes, boosting themselves and their allies, and laying down an impenetrable shield to keep everybody fighting long after foes have exhausted themselves against that unyielding adamantine defense. The immovable fanatic is not the most damage dealer oriented class, but they are able to tank the blows and keep their allies alive. And to that end, we're going to take a look at the races and stats that we want to in order to begin achieving this particular build. Now, bear in mind as we cover this, as with any build guide here at the Gamer's Den, this is not the only definitive way to play these classes or make these specific builds. The races covered here are just a small selection of everything that's possible, or everything that's even ideal for this specific mechanical build. So take everything here as just that. It's a guide, it's all just coming along with a grain of salt. Use this to learn how the class is effective, how it operates, and put everything together with what suits what you have in mind for your character. It is, after all, your character. So, with that said, let's go ahead and kick things off by taking a look at the Half-Orc. The Half-Orc provides us a +2 bonus to any stat, allowing us to get a boost exactly where we need it. They also gain a +2 racial bonus to Intimidate, and gain our very useful Dark Vision out to 60 feet. They also gain the Orc Ferocity ability, which allows them to act for one more round as if they were disabled when they're reduced to 0 or up to -9 hit points, after which they drop down unconscious. They also get a weapon familiarity for great axes and falchions, or any weapon with orc in the name, so the legendary orc double axe they are proficient with. That's not especially handy though, given that, especially with the great axe and falchion, considering that the Warpriest is already proficient with all martial weapons. However, if you are going to replace any of these traits and abilities, I would recommend swapping out Orc Ferocity for Sacred Tattoo. This will give you a +1 bonus on all of your saving throws, which is great starting out, especially for our reflex saves that are not going to be advancing all that well. The next race I'd recommend for the Warpriest class are Lizard Folk. Lizard Folk make solid contenders. They gain a +2 bonus to Strength and Constitution, both definitely essential for a frontline character, and they also gain a +1 natural armor bonus. They also get a reasonably useful swim speed of 30 feet and a +8 bonus to swim checks. They also get natural attacks, with their bite doing 1d3 damage and 2 claw attacks dealing 1d4 damage. But lastly, we have Dwarves. Dwarves gain a +2 bonus to their Constitution and Wisdom, but a -2 penalty to their Charisma. They have only a base speed of 20 feet, but that's never affected by medium or heavy armor, which all the other classes will be affected by and drop down to 20 feet anyways. They also get a +4 AC bonus against attacks from giant creatures, +2 racial bonus on saves versus poisons, spells, and spell-like abilities. They also gain the Stability trait, which gives them a +4 combat maneuver defense versus trip and bull rush attacks. They also get a Dark Vision out to 60 feet and a +1 attack bonus against goblin and orc subtype creatures. Now, one of the traits, actually I'd recommend 2 traits being swapped out here, unless you know you're specifically going up against these enemies. And that is the +4 AC bonus from giant subtype creatures and your +1 attack bonus against orcs and goblins. Take a look at some of the other trait options there. I've been poring over them, and I don't know that there's a lot that I could highly recommend over the other. Consider this for building your specific character type, though, if you're going with a dwarf warpriest. Overall, these 3 are pretty representative of what you want to look for in stat bonuses and traits for your character build. Now, for your stats, your stat array is going to look probably somewhat familiar to some of you. You're going to be looking at keeping your strength and wisdom up in tip-top shape, both coming in at 16s at least. And then following up with that at a very close second is your constitution, which comes in at 15 here, something that we can readily easily boost by 4th level if our stats don't already do so. And then for tied in 3rd place, we have dexterity and intelligence, with the edge going to dexterity at a 12, giving at least a +1 bonus to our initiatives, reflex saves, our armor class, and numerous skills, although not a lot of skills that we're proficient with. This will also help affect our ranged attacks as well. And very last, our dump stat is charisma, coming in at an 8. Now, this array here assumes that you have a 25-point buy for stats. If you're rolling 4d6 dice for your stats or using some other method, just follow this guide as a general outline. You want your strength and wisdom boosted first. And something else to mention here, it falls in line with taking this guide with a grain of salt. Charisma being a dump stat is just a purely mechanical thing. From a roleplay perspective, it makes a lot of sense for a warpriest, the guy bellowing out war hymns as he's carving and cutting down opponents left and right, to have a good charisma score for boosting the morale of his allies. Although you have numerous spells that you can utilize to do that, and there are numerous other ways to help mechanically boost morale, it still just fits for such a character to have a high charisma. But what do you think? Go on down into the comments below and let me know your thoughts. What races would you recommend? What changes to stats might you recommend? Let me know down in the comments, and we'll be more than happy to engage in discussion with you all. Also, hit the like or dislike button, and as I said earlier, if you haven't done so already, go on down there and hit the subscribe button, become a regular member, and join the rest of the alumni of the Gamers Den. But with all that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Thank you all so much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.